The reason why the Father now has this hatred against Mount Seir is because thou, Mount Seir, has had a perpetual hatred, and everybody knows that the word perpetual means forever, or a long extended period of time. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Yashra'al by the force of the sword, which we just brought out in Genesis. Okay, we have in the 27th chapter, where it's telling us now that Esau is going to live by the sword. So he shed the blood of the children of Yashra'al by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity. Now, this is important. In the time that their iniquity had an end. Therefore, as I live, said the sovereign Yahuah, I will prepare thee, Esau, unto blood, and blood shall pursue you, or thee, Esau. Since thou hatest not blood, blood shall pursue thee, which is Esau. Thus I will make Mount Seir, which is Esau, most desolate, and cut off from it him that passeth out, and him that returneth. And I will fill his mountains, and his slain men, and thy hills, and in thy valleys, and in thy rivers shall they fall, they are slain with the sword. I will make thee, Esau, a perpetual desolation, and thy cities shall not return. And you shall know that I am Yahuah thy Elohim. Because thou hast said, these two nations, Esau said now that these two nations and these two countries shall be mine, and we will possess it, whereas Yahuah was there. Anybody know who these two countries and these two nations are?
That would be the northern and southern kingdom.
Hallelujah. Therefore, as I live, said the sovereign of Yahuah, I will even do according to thine anger and according to thine envy, which thou hast used of the hatred against them which is Yashra'al, and I will make myself known among them when I have judged thee, which is Esau. And thou shalt know that I am Yahuah, and that I have heard all thy blasphemies which I have spoken against the mountains of Israel, saying, they are laid desolate, they are given us to consume. Thus with your mouth ye have boasted against me, and have multiplied your words against me. I have heard them. Thus saith the sovereign Yahuah, when the whole world rejoiceth, I will make you, Esau, desolate. As thou didst rejoice at the inheritance of the house of Israel, because it was desolate, so will I do unto thee. Thou shalt be desolate, O Mount Seir, and all of Idumea, even all of it, and they shall know that I am Yahuah thy Elohim. Idumea is very, very important because last week we talked about a very serious or important character in history, which was Herod. We went out and we shared that Herod was actually an Idumean, and his mother was an Arab. Herod posed such a great destruction upon the nation of Yashra'al that is now still affecting us to this very day. We're just going to touch on that because we want to get into the meat of today's lesson. The book of Obadiah. If we can get Shammai, if she can read the book of Obadiah, the first chapter. You can read the second chapter if you want. Verse 18.
Obadiah 1 and 18.
Okay, chapter 2. Okay. I'm only messing with you. Go ahead. All right.
And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them, and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for Yahuah hath spoken it.
Hallelujah. 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 Very good. The book of Yasher, I'm going to be reading. All right, the book of Yasher. So just listen real close here. We're talking about this hatred because a lot of us don't believe that this hatred still exists here today. If anybody has the book of Yasher, I'm going to read it from the 29th chapter. I'm just going to read verses 25 to 41. Just want to let everybody know that this hatred is real. And this is based upon Esau not receiving the inheritance. the 29th chapter, verses 25-41. It's all going to be self-explanatory, so I'm just going to read on down. Now therefore, my son, hearken unto my voice to all that I will command you, and refrain from taking a woman from amongst the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Haran, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take unto you a woman from there, from the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. Therefore take heed to lest you should forget Yahuah your Elohim in all his ways of the land to which you go, and should get connected with the people of the land, and pursue vanity and forsake Yahuah your Elohim. We're talking about Jacob here. This is a discussion that they're having with him. But when you come to the land, serve there Yahuah. Do not turn to the right or to the left from the way which I command you, and in which you did learn. And may the Father grant you favor in the sight of the people of the earth, that you may take there a woman according to your choice, one who is good and upright in the ways of Yahuah. And may Elohim give unto you and your seed the blessings of your father Abraham, and make you fruitful and multiply you, and make you become a multitude of people in the land whither you go. And may Elohim cause you to return to this land, the land of your fathers, dwelling with children and with great riches, with joy and pleasure. And Isaac commanded Yaakov and blessed him, and he gave him gifts, which is very important, verse 30. Isaac finished commanding Yaakov, which is Jacob, and blessed him, and he gave him gifts together with silver and gold. And he sent him away, and Yaakov hearkened to his father and mother. He kissed them, arose and went to Padan Aram, and Yaakov was 70 years old when he went out from the land of Canaan from Beersheba. And when Yaakov went away to go to Haran, watch this, Esau called unto his son Eliphaz, and secretly spoke unto him, saying, Now hasten, take your sword in your hand, and pursue Jacob, and pass before him in the road, and lurk for him, and slay Jacob with your sword in one of the mountains, and take all belonging to him, and come back. And Eliphaz, which was Esau's son now, and Eliphaz the son of Esau was an active man, an expert with the bow, as his father had taught him. So we see now that the Edomites now are real crafty with the bow. And the modern day bow now is their military. Okay? So this hatred now that Esau has for Jacob is more defined or outlined here in the book of Yashra'al. And Eliphaz the son of Esau was an active man, an expert with the bow of his father, as his father had taught him. And he was a noted hunter in the field and a valiant man. And Eliphaz did as his father had commanded him, and Eliphaz was at that time 13 years old. And Eliphaz rose up and went and took 10 of his mother's brothers with him, and pursued Jacob. And he closely followed Jacob, and he lurked for him in the border of the land of Canaan, opposite to the city of Shechem. And Yaakov saw Eliphaz and his men pursuing him. And Yaakov stood still in the place in which he was going, in order to know what this was, for he did not know the thing. And Eliphaz drew his sword, and he went on advancing, he and his men, towards Jacob. And Jacob said unto them, What is to do with you that you have come hither? And what does it mean that you pursue with your swords? And Eliphaz came near to Jacob, and he answered and said to him, Thus did my father command me, and now therefore I will not deviate from the orders which my father gave me. And when Yaakov saw that Esau had spoken to Eliphaz to employ force, Yaakov then approached and supplicated Eliphaz and his men, saying to him, Behold, all that I have, and which my father and mother gave to me, that take unto you, and go from me, and do not slay me. And may this thing be accounted unto you as righteousness. And Yahuah caused Jacob to find favor in the sight of Eliphaz, the son of Esau, and his men, and they hearkened to the voice of Yaakov, and they did not put him to death. And Eliphaz and his men took all belonging to Jacob, together with the silver and the gold that he had brought with him from Beersheba. They left him nothing. And Eliphaz and his men went away from him. They returned to Esau to Beersheba, and they told him all that they had occurred to them with Jacob. And they gave him all that they had taken from Jacob. And Esau was indignant at Eliphaz's son and at his men that were with him, because they had not put Jacob to death. And they answered and said unto Esau, because Jacob supplicated us in this matter not to slay him, our pity was excited towards him, and we took all belonging to him, and brought it unto you. And Esau took all the silver and gold which Eliphaz had taken from Jacob, and he put them by his house. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring that out, because when Jacob left his family, he had everything that he needed now to actually now get his bride, which was supposed to have been Rachel. Because when you go out and you get an Isha, you're supposed to pay a dowry. But the reason why, again, he had to work so hard, with Laban is because he was robbed by Esau and Eliphaz. So again, I just wanted to bring that out and also share with the Mishpachah how deep this hatred is. Esau has a perpetual hatred against the nation of Yashra'al. Both Esau and Ishmael are both men of the sword. Now, this is a big time warning. I want everybody to please understand what's going on in these last days here. There will be no pre-tribulation rapture. All right? Joel Osteen, I know he's teaching this a lot, and a lot of my people are following Joel Osteen, but that is not documented anywhere in the scriptures where there's going to be a pre-tribulation where we won't have to go through the things that are outlined in scripture. And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to share and show that Jacob's trouble means exactly that. These are going to be the things that Jacob is going to go through in these last days here, so that make sure that nobody. So what do we have here? One second. Okay, this is acting crazy here. Try this one more time. Okay, Matthew, the 24th chapter. And I'll read that, verses 1 through 13. And again, this is the Aramaic Rasheda. Watch how clear this is regarding what's about to happen to us, I believe, within this generation. And the Mashiach passed out of the temple to go away, and his disciple or his Talmudim came to him, showing him the structure of the temple. And he said unto them, see you not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there will not be left here a stone upon a stone that is not demolished. So we're talking about what's going to happen now in 70 AD. And as the Mashiach sat on the Mount of Olives, his disciples came and said between themselves and him, tell us when would these things are to be, and what will be the sign of thy coming. We're talking about the end of the age here. Okay? Because the Mashiach has to die and resurrect. So we need to know now, what will be the sign, even to this day now, what will be the sign of the Mashiach's coming and the consummation of the world? The Mashiach answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. For many will come in my name and will say, I am the Mashiach, and will deceive many. Watch what's going to happen. You will hear of conflicts and rumors of battles. See that you be not disquieted, for all these things must come, but the end is not yet. For people will rise against people, and we see these things happening today. But again, this prophecy happened, but it's going to be a reoccurring prophecy that's even happening to this day, because our people are still scattered amongst the four corners of the earth, and there still has been no redemption for the nation of Yashra'al. For people will rise against people, and kingdom against kingdom, and there should be famines and plagues and earthquakes in various places. But all these are all the beginnings of sorrows. These are all birth pains that we're seeing today. Then shall they deliver you to affliction, and shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all peoples on account of my name. The adversary knows exactly who we are. Then shall many be offended, and shall hate one another, and betray one another. This is all going to happen now with this side of the confines of the nation of Yashra'al. And many lying prophets shall stand up, and shall delude the multitudes. And because of the abounding of iniquity, the love of many will languish. But he who shall preserve, but he that, you know what, let me read this in the King James Version. Okay, because it's worded a little bit different, and I like that version a little bit better. Verse 15. Verse 13. But he that shall endure unto the end of all these things that I just talked about, the same shall be saved. So again, I found that very interesting, because if it's talking about the wars and the rumors of wars, and in verse 13 it is saying, but he that shall endure all these things that we just talked about, the rumors of wars and the famine and all these things like that, the same shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness to all nations, and then shall the end come. Now I'm going to jump down to verse 19. Now, verse 19 is very, very tricky, but I'm going to read it just the way that it is. I'm not trying to stop anybody from procreating, from having children, and anything like that. But the times are going to get so serious. It says, woe to them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray you that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Shabbat day. For then shall be great tribulation, on such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor even ever shall be. And except those days shall be shortened, there shall no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. I'm going to jump down to verse 25. Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chamber, believe it not. For as the lightning shineth, or cometh out of the east, and shineth even into the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. I'm going to skip down to verse 29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, I'm going to read it again. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from Shamayim, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in Shamayim. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of Shamayim with great power and esteem. And he shall send his messenger with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall be gathered together with his elect from the four winds, from one end of Shamayim to the other. Now, with those scriptures that we just read there, do anybody see now that there's going to be a pre-tribulation? Because what we just shared here, after the tribulation, there's going to be this great sign in heaven. Then we're going to see the sign of the coming of the Mashiach. And then we're going to hear the sound of the shofar, okay, ushering in the king, which happens in the 7th month, during Yom Teruah. Then we see the gathering of the 12 tribes of Israel that are scattered abroad. No pre-tribulation. It's not there. What I'm trying to share here now is that based upon what we just read in Matthew the 24th chapter, all hell is about to break loose. The type of turmoil that has never been since the beginning of time, and neither shall it be from that point thereafter. Woe to them that give, or the women that give suck in those days. It's going to be really that bad. That bad. Again, we're talking about the famine, the pestilence, and all these things here that's outlined in the book of Matthew, the 24th chapter. So right now, these are just the beginning of sorrows. These are what we call birth pains. So right now, we should be in the mode, or in the mood now, of preparing for what's about to happen. I need to finish this up, all right? The plagues during the 42 months before the Mashiach returns. Again, the plagues during the 42 months before the Mashiach returns. We're going to go to the book of Revelation, the 18th chapter. I'm going to speed this up here. Revelation, the 18th chapter. Watch how serious this becomes. A lot of people don't want to talk about it, but we're going to talk about it here a little bit here tonight. And the next two classes that we're going to be doing, we're going to turn up the heat just a little bit more. It says, therefore shall her plagues, we're talking about Babylon, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death, and mourning, and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire, for strong is Yahuah our Elohim who judges her. So, I'm going to read verse 80 one more time. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day. So that one day, I don't want anybody to get sidetracked by that one day. That one day is actually referring to, in Hebrew, or from a Hebraic perspective, it's actually talking about 1 year, not 1 day. And to prove that, if we can have, let's have a Pt3, if she can read Yahusha, the 4th chapter, verse 5. We just want to show and prove that these plagues on the 42 months, they happened before the return of the Mashiach, and this 1 day is actually referring to 1 year. That's Yahusha, the 4th chapter, chapter 4, verse 5.
For I have laid upon thee the years of their iniquity, according to the number of days, 390 days. Right,
so we have 390 days. So Ezekiel now is laying on his sides now for 390 days. Read on.
So shalt thou bear the iniquity of the house of Yashra'al.
Mm-hmm.
And when thou hast accomplished them, lie again on thy right side, and thou shalt bear the iniquity of the house of Judah 40 days. I have appointed thee each day for a year. Each day for a year, right?
So we have 390 days. The 390 days are actually 390 years. Okay? To further prove that, go to the book of Bamidbar, the 14th chapter, verse 34. And if we can have a Koti Catherine, please, to read that. The book of Numbers, the 14th chapter, verse 34. We just want to make sure that we prove all things.
Numbers, what again? I'm sorry.
The 14th chapter, verse 34.
Numbers 14, verse 34. After the number of the days in which ye search the land, even 40 days, each day for a year, shall ye bear your iniquities, even 40 years, and ye shall know my breach of promise.
Hallelujah. So we see that the Father made a covenant with the nation of Yashra'al. He sent the spies to go out into the land. They spied the land out for 40 days. They came back and gave a negative report. Those 40 days represents now how long Israel is going to be in the wilderness wandering, because when the Father told us to go and take the land is yours, I'm with you. He gave back a negative report. Being that you don't trust me, you're going to now spend 40 years in the wilderness, representing now the 40 days that you went out and spied out the land and came back with a negative report. See how all this is tying in? Watch this now. Let's go to the book of Revelation, the 16th chapter. And we're going to talk about the seriousness or the repercussions for taking the mark of the beast. This is all centered around now that we're talking about the 42 months. How long is this tribulation going to last? According to Scripture.
42 months.
Right. A time and a half, 1,260 days, and there's going to be no pre-tribulation. We're going to go through it. Now, Revelation, the 16th chapter, verse 1. The 16th chapter, read verses 1 through 3. And I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the 7 messengers, or angels, go your way and pour out the vials of the wrath of Elohim upon the earth. This is happening during the 42 months, the 1,260 days that we have to go through. Again, watch this now. I heard a great voice out of the temple saying, the 7 messengers, go your way and pour out the vials of the wrath of Elohim upon the earth. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worship the image. I want to stop right there. One of the plagues that is first mentioned here during these 42 months, if you want to know whether or not a person has actually now taken the mark of the beast, this person now, according to 1 through 3, watch what happens. And the verse 2, excuse me. And the first went out and poured out his veil upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which have the mark of the beast, and upon them which worship his image. Now, in the Aramaic Peshitta, it said that these people now, they broke out in boils. Okay, the same type of boils that Job had, where it hurted Job to stand up, and it hurted Job to lay down. So during these 42 months, a lot of people are going to compromise, okay, their well-being and their safety. This is the reason why, Mishrakah, it's going to be very, very important that we understand and understand exactly what's about to happen in these last days here. I know a lot of people have been watching this movie called The Bird Box, and a lot of other movies that's been coming out that's showing all of these things that's going to happen in the latter end. It even talks about, I'll go over it next week, it talks about now that there's going to be so many dead bodies around us. It's just going to take 7 months